President Putin wants to continue strengthening economic ties with the likes of China and India, because we all know that the Russian economy is struggling because of the amount of money they're having to pour into the military campaign in the Ukraine. President Xi, as I've already mentioned, very much wants to cement his place as a superpower leader alongside President Trump. So it's a win-win for both of those world leaders, because they basically are reinforcing what each other wants.
Now, President Putin has arrived in China today, along with other world leaders, to attend the Tianjin Security Summit amidst the ongoing war in Ukraine. One of the key issues for the Russian president is to align Moscow and China on the war. Earlier in the month, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ruled out China possibly acting as a security guarantee if and when the Russia-Ukraine peace agreement to end the fighting materializes. Well, let's welcome to the show Dr. Andrew Curtis, independent defense and security researcher specializing in national strategy, defense policy and plans and military logistics. Doctor, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
What do you make of the attendees so far? We've got President Modi, we've got the leader of North Korea, Vladimir Putin, everyone coming together. Is this China showing that it can flex its political muscle?
I think there's definitely an element of that, Alexis. I think that China is very keen to portray itself as a superpower at the same level as the United States. And so being able to bring together world leaders as part of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I think is an opportunity for them to prove to the rest of the world that it needs to be taken seriously as a great power.
How significant is this meeting? The fact that it's happening only, 2 weeks since we had that big meeting of European leaders at the White House along with President Zelensky. It feels like it's sort of mirroring that meeting a little bit.
I think the meeting's been planned for a while. Interestingly, though, of course, it gains greater significance because of what else is happening on the world stage at the moment. So it's absolutely an opportunity for Putin, having had the occasion to, if you like, come back onto the world stage with President Trump in Alaska recently, to prove that he is also able to discuss issues with perhaps more non-aligned members, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS members, those sorts of people as well. So I think for Putin, it is a very timely opportunity for him to both show other countries, but also internally, that he is still a world statesman.
What do you make of some of the news lines that are coming out, particularly the leaders of China and India saying that there's a deepening trust between them after years of tensions? They pledge to be partners, not rivals. How significant is this union between India and China?
It is very significant in terms of India's relationship with the US at the moment. We have to remember that Trump is increasing tariffs on India. Clearly, Prime Minister Modi is not at all happy about that. But there's also a lot of Western countries want India to potentially stand up to China. And for China, having India come to this sort of summit and talk favorably towards China, it is a big win for China. So I think this is very positive for China, but actually it's also very bad for President Trump and the United States.
How so?
Well, Trump wants India to help counter the rise in China in the Indo-Pacific region. But India is very much has a policy of multi-alignment, if you like. So being a friend to all and an enemy to none. So India is very keen to continue creating as positive relationships as it can with all of the major players. And that's not what President Trump wants. President Trump is a very binary politician. You are either in his camp or you are not in his camp. He very much wants India to be in his camp, whereas President Modi is far happier sitting on the fence.
One person who may be described as having a foot in both camps would be the president of Turkey, President Erdogan, who's also attending the meeting. What's the significance of Turkey being there?
Erdogan is a very interesting character in this situation.
He is.
Because he has quite close ties with Russia. Clearly, Turkey is also a member of NATO. Erdogan would want Turkey to be a member of the EU as well, although I think that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. Turkey is in a really strong position to influence activity because it's effectively got the ear of all of the major players, and it also wants itself to become a more significant player on the world stage.
Mm-hmm. And also, we shouldn't forget, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is also expected to attend. What's his attendance? What's the significance between him attending? We gather that China was insistent that he attend. Why do you think that is?
I think there's an element of China wanting to let North Korea know who's boss.
Right.
And President Xi is very much wants to make it clear that actually North Korea is in its debt. It's not in Russia's debt. And of course, North Korea has provided troops and military equipment to help Russia in its war with Ukraine. So it sees itself as being a friend to Russia. But I think what President Xi wants to make sure is that North Korea knows exactly where it stands. China is the boss. Russia is not.
What do you expect after this security summit? What do you expect the news lines to be? Are we going to hear much on Ukraine? Are we going to hear much about other alliances forming, as we heard there, between India and China? What do you think the outcome of this meeting will be?
So I don't think we're going to hear much more on Ukraine. Interestingly, President Putin is also attending a military parade in Beijing to mark the 80th end of 80 years since the end of World War II. That in itself is also significant in terms of relations between those two countries. So I think that the leaders want different things. President Putin wants to continue strengthening economic ties with the likes of China and India, because we all know that the Russian economy is struggling because of the amount of money they're having to pour into the military campaign in the Ukraine. President Xi, as I've already mentioned, very much wants to cement his place as a superpower leader alongside President Trump. So it's a win-win for both of those world leaders, because they basically are reinforcing what each other wants.
Doctor, thank you so much for giving us your time. Fascinating to get your thoughts. Dr. Andrew Curtis there, independent defence and security researcher, specialising in national security, defence policy and plans and military logistics.